The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey everybody, coming to you cordless via fiber. It's Wednesday night, August 21st, 2024. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Sydney, Australia, 11 a.m. in Singapore. In Chicago right now, it's 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's Central Daylight Time, 10 p.m. I'm Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is, believe it or not, episode 150. You can mark it on your calendars. Yeah. So what do we got going on here? Well, we got it going on. I tell you, I get so much shit for that for using that phrase. Yeah. Okay, boomer. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know. All right. But we do have it going on. So our guest tonight, we're following day 3 of the DNC convention. The dynamic duo is here. That's Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, the lovely and talented Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from RedState.com, and the equally lovely and talented Jeff Meyer from Conk.com. They're going to be joining us. This is their monthly foray. If you keeping track, if you can figure this out, it's the third Wednesday every month, and it happens to be during the convention. And we couldn't find better people to join us for this, because they're both in the news business. And Jennifer's been writing quite a few interesting pieces on this, and Jeff's been reading them. So they got it going on. So that's tonight. Tomorrow night, it's the convention panel. It's our normal month in review panel. That's Tim Conaway, Larry Newman, and Don Zerro. And Don Zerro will be here. I've been confirmed, but he last time he didn't show up, and that's because he said he had a little too much wine. Seriously, apparently he was having some cognitive issues, as Joe Biden would say, or people talking about him. And so he could not show up. So he has told us now, he has guaranteed us that he will be there tomorrow. So that should be interesting. That's for we're starting at our usual starting time, 11 a.m. or p.m. Eastern, like we are tonight, because we tried during the RNC to start when the speakers were done. Oh, screw that. That didn't work out at all. We ended up starting on the last night. We had the convention panel on, and we started 90 minutes past our usual start time, so we started at 12:30 a.m. Eastern. I know it's one of the worst viewerships we've ever had, because people went looking for us and couldn't find us. And I know that because I had friends who called me the next day. Where were you guys? Well, yeah. So screw that. We're not doing that tonight. We're not doing that tomorrow either. Well, we'll be back on Monday. On Monday, we got I will be solo, and we'll go through what happened this weekend. And I hate to say this, I took yesterday off. I got to take next Tuesday off too. So it's a long story, and you don't want to know about my life, but yeah, I have to. So I'm hoping to get Jazz Shaw on here Wednesday or Thursday. I already talked to him. He hasn't got back to me yet, and I'll tell you why after we let the dynamic duo go here that'll be our kicker for the night. I'll tell you why. So now you can call us up tonight on Monday, which was terrible because Monday's kind of call-in night here, because usually I do Mondays alone. I make a point to. I don't book guests on Monday because there's a lot of news that happens over the weekend, and also you guys have started to like calling me up, and I like that a lot. So Monday's call-in night here, but last Monday, 2 days ago, Blog Talk Radio was offline. No calls. Couldn't do it. Didn't have the equipment, Jesus. But at any rate, we are running tonight. They're running tonight. We're up and running. You can call us at 563-999-3435. You can also call us via your webcam and that's Gemini.com/call, and that's on the bottom of the screen here, scrolling away. And also you can send us a text message in real time, 408-458-5088. So, yeah, and so we're going to put Jeff and Jennifer on in just a moment. Oh, God, I'm burping. So what did I have to eat? I had 2 chicken enchilada burritos from Taco Bell. How can you go wrong with that? That's American food, man. It's American Mexican food. And you wonder why I'm burping? Yeah, that's why I'm burping. So I want to, before we put our folks on here, I want to, this is the Conk front page at Conk News. This is Jeff Meyer's website, and they're our sponsor. And so Conk is a news aggregator. They take news from 75 different news sources every 3 hours and update this on their front page. The front page is free to access. You don't even have to register. You don't have to log in. None of that crap. You just go there, and these well, yeah. Get your shit together, Jim. What the hell's going on here? It's like God Almighty. Okay, so if you've seen this before, and you've seen me do this, or if you've been to this website, and you should go to this, because I'm not kidding. There's no better news source on the planet than Conk News, period. And that's because you're getting news from 75 places at once, and it's all blended together. And when I mean blended, I mean it's not like you go. Most news aggregators, they run the top stories from like Fox News and the top stories from Breitbart and top stories from Red State and all that sort of stuff. No, here they're all mixed together based solely on the time they were posted. So the newest stories, regardless of the source, are always at the top of the page. Got that? Now, because we access this at the same time every night, usually in the top left corner, there's a story from hotair.com, and I can tell that because of there are logos at the bottom, small logos at the bottom left of that post. And so that's usually the reason, but I mean, that's not the case at all. If you access at different times of the day and whatever, you'll get different results. So I just want to point that out here. And they, yeah, okay, so I'm losing my train of thought. What the hell's wrong with me? I'll tell you what's wrong. I'm 68 years old. That's what's wrong. I got the Joe Biden disease. If you click on one of these stories or the headline, and by the way, the headlines are not rewritten, and the photos are from the stories themselves. No misplacement, any of that. You go directly to the story. No interstitial page, no ad before you see the story, nothing. You go directly to the story. And if you, like I said, they update this, their servers update this every 3 hours. If you go back 4 or 5 hours later, 80% of these stories will be different. And all the ones that are not different are all pushed to the bottom of the page. You can't find a better news source than this. I can't emphasize this enough. Check this out at conk.com, conk.com. Like I said, you don't have to register. You don't have to pay. You don't have to subscribe. None of that crap. You just go there and you do it. It's very simple. All right, so we're going to put our, is Jeff there? Well, we're going to find out. Here's 12 seconds of bumper music. Hi, Jennifer. How you doing?
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. Jeff, are you there?
I'm getting it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got equipment issues too.
What?
I have equipment issues too.
Oh, yes. Oh, you do, huh?
Okay, I'm here.
I called you both beautiful. I only heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's get right to it. So, Jennifer, you emailed me this afternoon and said, why don't you try talking about this stuff? And I already got that stuff on. And all that stuff is stuff you wrote. But before we get to that, I want to talk about just the general, and I can use this term here, even though I probably shouldn't, but we got a disclaimer at the top of the show, the clusterfuck of an organized event. Apparently, this has gone completely off the rails. Like, you know, so Biden not only ends up talking 90 minutes late, what the public doesn't really know is that they cut 2 speakers and a performance by James Taylor in real time to get him on 90 minutes late. So if they hadn't done that, it would have been 2 or 3 hours. It's
Yeah.
like, what the hell? What people can't plan anything, you know?
It's like you said, it's a CF. I mean, we kind of know Monday night was probably deliberate, but still, the fact that was supposed to be produced by, they made a big deal of that it was supposed to be produced by Steven Spielberg, a director that's supposed to know how to do things, and this nightmare thing where here was my biggest complaint: you could not find a schedule of who was on when. The day of. It's like every time I wanted to cover a story or get more information, the website locked you out. No, none of the other reporters had much of anything. It's like, what kind of organization doesn't want that information to be known?
Jen, have you heard this? I've also heard that the press can't even get into the press room. That they have to stand in line for hours before somebody vets them or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I think Blue Box Dave Marcus mentioned it, and a few other people have mentioned it. Yeah, it's pretty awful. It's
okay, so
fully organized.
I can buy the fact that maybe that they deliberately pushed Joe Biden back, but if you went by the schedule they had, it would have been hours. I mean, are they that callous, Jeff? Are they that callous?
I'm not a Joe Biden fan at all, as I've spoken on your show.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just more cruelty to an old guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, that's just an insane way to handle the president of the United States. Why is he on? They don't do news conferences at 10 o'clock for any of them, for any president. And the people on the West Coast understand that. And again, I'm watching this via my favorite senator, Amy Klobuchar, is on speaking right now. And it's 10:12, and she's setting up old Tampon Tim.
Yeah.
And maybe he's next, but I don't. But it's to Jennifer's point, you don't know. They don't have.
You have no clue.
A list of who's up next. So, just in pure respect for the president, why would you put him on? Well, first of all, they dissed him because it's Monday. Traditionally, he'd be on today,
right?
Setting up this person. And the other nonsense is they act like she's not part of the current leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, but
they have to.
It's not working.
I think anybody who has half a brain will get that. Well, who the heck are they talking about that Hope is making a comeback? You guys have been in office for the last 3.5 years. Where did it come back from?
I don't know if you guys saw this. Some guy was on a panel last night on CNN, and he said, well, if you stop and think about it, in the last, what did he say? In the last 16 years, the Democrats have been in power for 11. So it's like, okay, if Hope and Change is coming back, when did it go away? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
What about the last 3 years? No hope and no change, I guess. I don't know.
Well, and that's the other thing. No news organization ever points out that if you're, and again, you have to say this to people because you can't be silent anymore. And you don't have to be an asshole about it like I can be. But you have to remind people, especially Minnesotans, the Democrats, I'm 58, going to be 59 this year, have been running this state with the power for about 56 of those years.
Yeah.
So any problems here are from their management.
Right.
And you can't wash that off. You can't change your clothes. You can't wear a costume. That's just a basic fact in most blue states and blue cities. The problems there are inherent of poor leadership. So who's the leaders? So
Jen, you wrote a story about, I'm kind of sort of backtracking here, but I think it's important, about Trump being on X with Elon Musk. And about the fact that, and this is really true, about the liberal media basically lost their minds. And they did. Yeah. And here's one problem, and people have to understand this. I don't know I guess the last I heard is 20 million people have watched that. Not necessarily live, but have seen it, And
Right.
this is the problem you have right now, and that is Musk gets 20 million people on X. On a typical night or day, Joe Rogan has 11 million people who sees his podcast, and CNN can't even crack a 500,000 people in prime time, and so
Right.
they're being completely marginalized. And it's like, and then I'm thinking, well, geez, I wonder why. Did it ever occur to you people that you screwed this up yourselves? I mean,
No, it hasn't occurred to them because, again, they live in their bubble. They think they are the world. They think we are the one who control. That they're still deluded that they actually control the narrative and control the flow of information when they don't anymore. Streaming has passed them by, and as you said, there's a huge audience of people who have never watched CNN, and they're not missing anything.
no.
Who spend their time in certain rooms in certain formats. And with X, with some of these interviews Trump is doing with these streamers and Twitch and all that, a whole audience of voters or people who have never voted before because these people were not relevant to them, he's reaching them. So yeah, it's, as much as they want to prop up Kamala and fluff her up and, pretend that, that they've got this going on and we're going to get rid of evil Trump. It's just like, sorry. He's reaching audiences that you'll never reach because you've got your head stuck up your ass.
Yeah, and I think to Jennifer's point, you look at Tucker Carlson and his new network. You look at Megyn Kelly and her podcast.
Yeah.
And then to me, I look at the conservative media. I look at Sean Hannity and say, you still will bring on Lindsey Graham, a true warmonger, who will come on there and cry that he might lose his Senate seat. And I'm going to go on a little rant here. No one's that important in any government function. So get in there, try to make your changes, and then get out. But we don't, as an electorate, kick them out. And we don't kick out these news people either. Like, why isn't Hannity going, why do I want the shackles of Fox News around me? I mean, Megyn Kelly has great interviews. Tucker Carlson is breaking news, Jim, just like you, with these people that you can have an honest discussion without all these breaks and all this interruption for the money part. I mean, Sean Hannity's probably made $30 million a year between his TV and radio. At some point, you have to look in the mirror and say,
45.
Yeah, and say, I've got enough money. Am I making any difference?
I don't know. I don't, here's the deal. Some people need something to do. But you're absolutely right, Jeff. You'd think he's in a position more than anybody else to scrap the whole thing and do it himself.
And walk away with, I did this. I didn't get Megyn or Tuckered.
Right.
Or Don Lemon.
He's not someone who is, one, he's not a real journalist. Two, he's only interested in hearing himself talk. He's not interested in, the guests are just academic for him. It's about him bloviating about and Fox lets him do that because frankly, he couldn't do what Tucker Carlson does. He couldn't.
Oh, that's really interesting, Jen. You're saying you think if he did it, he'd fail?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why we have a real journalist that can analyze this stuff versus just a set of ears that I have.
Well, you own a journalism outlet, and I'm just a guy who yaks on the inner tube.
But sorry for taking us in that direction. But
no.
So now I'm corrected. Sean's stuck there because he can't go.
No, he's not. No. He's not stuck there. He doesn't want to leave. His nest is padded. He's gonna whenever he does leave, whether somebody finds a sexual harassment suit against him or he just retires or whatever, he's gonna have a golden parachute, and that's all he cares about.
And actually, if you stop and think about it, even though he is a conservative, he is kind of a member of the legacy media, which is the reason he's doing it old school. He's getting paid a boatload of money. I don't know if I follow the trades. I don't know if you guys know this. He's the first broadcaster on the radio to ever syndicate to 700 stations. Even Rush didn't do that. So he's on all over the place, but God bless him. I don't know. I don't, and seriously, I don't want to diss the guy.
Yeah, I mean, I hear he's a nice guy. I'm not nothing against him.
Correct.
But he's a known commodity, and frankly, he's part of a dying industry.
Yeah.
And the people who are making news and drawing in interesting people and breaking talent are the Megyn Kellys and the Tucker Carlsons, and people who are actually wanting to have conversations, wanting truth to get out there.
Yeah, like you guys, and I love you.
As much
Okay.
as I can.
All right, Jen, I'm going to go to another article you wrote, and which in some ways you are perfectly suited to discuss, and that is you wrote the article about the abortion mobile.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so Jeff, let's preface this. Jeff has been going on about this forever, about the fact that this whole Democrat diversity thing is I'm going to put words in your mouth, so you correct me, Jeff, is a giant plot to kill black people.
Yeah,
No lie.
you can't argue that about Planned Parenthood. That's a statistical fact.
Right. Yeah. Margaret Sanger called us human weeds. She said that we needed to rid the earth of us, and they're just fulfilling her mission.
Yeah.
Pure and simple. And where they can't delete us in terms of getting born, they destroy our men through drugs, AIDS, emasculating men. It's just like one of the most offensive ads that they put out was, I don't know if it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago in 2022. It basically was no voting, no vucking. And change the V with an F, and that people saying, well, I'm going to withhold if you don't go vote Democrat.
Oh yeah, right.
It's just like, so we are reduced to the sum of our parts, and really that's it. And enough blacks are offended. I don't know if you've been watching some of the coverage and Man on the Street and people outside of the DNC talking to actual black voters. They're letting it be known, I'm sorry, I'm not going to vote for this. This is a clown show.
I talked about this on my Monday show. I don't know if you guys saw this. Don Lemon, bless his heart, is doing something on Twitter. So he goes out on the street and he talks to mostly African-American people, not entirely. But he was shocked. He asked people, who are you voting for? Almost all of them said Trump.
Yeah.
And he literally couldn't wrap his mind around it. It's like, what? He just assumed everyone's going to say, Harris, and he was wrong.
Well, and he was in Vegas, supposedly a swing
Atlantic City, I think.
Is that where it was? Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Well, again, another stronghold for the Democrats. Not, and again, that's why they want people to fight amongst each other, so you don't stop and think. I mean, that's what I think about this whole NFL. And major sports, it's just a distraction of 3 hours of not thinking about how you're getting hosed by this system. Doesn't matter your skin color, everyone's getting hosed.
Yeah. And lying and gaslight. I mean, that is the most nauseating part about having to watch all this crap.
Oh man,
is just how much they are gaslighting and lying and promoting. Did you know Kamala worked at McDonald's?
Oh, she did. Yeah, she did.
I've been following her career from the jump in California.
She's middle class.
No mention of McDonald's until now, and they've mentioned that 5 million times. I guess to give her a customer service attitude or something.
Jennifer, you're missing the point. She's middle class. That's the point. No. I have
with her $2 million Brentwood home and condo in San Francisco,
and her father taught Marxism. Was it at Berkeley? Is that where he taught?
He was at Stanford. Actually, he was.
Now, I know about you guys. A very good friend of mine, a childhood friend of mine, just retired as the head of the drama department at a very prestigious college, and we have a lot of mutual friends, and they all agree with this. This guy hasn't made the most money of anybody I know by any means, but he lives the best life I mean, my God, it's unbelievable. The perks he has as a professor, mind-boggling. He goes over to Europe for a summer every 2-3 years on sabbatical. He gets to stay in a mansion. He owns a hobby farm. I mean, my God. I mean, the guy.
They were not poor and starving
No.
to begin with. That
No.
load of crap that they try to sell. Oh, she was a single mother.
Yeah,
and they
right.
struggle. It's BS.
Well, the
They
reason I
both
brought this
came
up is because
from moneyed families.
that's the academic class. It's not necessarily a huge amount of money, but these people live really, really well.
Yes,
they live way better than the average person, you know.
Yeah.
And so,
and
yeah,
that is actually something, you know, if I can, it's like water through a fire hose sometimes, this information. But before this clown show is over, I want to write an article about, well, where is Donald Harris? It's like they've trotted out everybody in her family and in-house family. Where's Donald Harris? Is he going to make a surprise appearance on Thursday? Is he going to introduce her? Well, you know, it's like she doesn't exist outside of, I'm going to massacre her mother's name, but Shamaya Gayapan or whatever her name was. She doesn't exist outside of her, but no mention whatsoever of Donald Harris.
how do these people?
And he's still alive.
Yeah, and he taught Marxism. And
Yeah.
and Barack Obama's father was a radical communist in Kenya. How do we end up with these people? What the hell?
Good question. They know how to. You know, I like using Manchurian Candidate just because I like that movie, and it was just very well done and very much exemplifies what they've done.
Yeah.
But but they don't have to be from China or Manchuria. They can come from Kenya. They can come from Somalia. You guys have the major Somalian problem, but they manufacture, they breed these people literally, and then groom them in order. I have my theories. CIA is part of it. They install these people. People are just, one person was talking about how they don't understand why, how Barack Obama got where he got. And, he's very charismatic and this is that. And I said, yeah, he is charismatic. He definitely can carry it, but he was groomed. His parents were very well installed leftists.
Yeah, right.
He was groomed, or his grandparents.
Yeah.
He was groomed.
And Jennifer, I have to tell you, I worked for Jeff for 4 years. I've been doing this for a year. I can't get the CIA seems to be involved in freaking everything.
Yeah,
they do.
exactly.
It's like, I just can't escape that at this point. I mean, they've got their fingers in all sorts of crap. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. And Jeff, we have to talk about this since Jennifer brought it up, about the fact that Ilhan Omar won the primary. She won it by 13 points against the same guy she was ran against 2 years ago, where she barely won. And I'm just thinking, oh, come on, really?
No, correct me if I'm wrong. I kind of peripherally paid attention to it just because I knew they push her over. Apparently, it was kind of like what happened in Georgia. They stopped the counting for a while and then started it back up again.
I didn't even know.
And then suddenly she won.
Yeah, the local news has not reported any of that.
Wow.
Right. And just to give the viewers, she was being opposed by a gentleman named Don Samuels, who's been on the Minneapolis City Council. He's been a lightning rod for change. I mean, this guy is connected. He wasn't some, 25-year-old kid that was running. This was a well-established politician.
Right.
And, the conversation in Minnesota is, how did he get beat so bad when he was so close before? It's electoral math that just doesn't work.
Well, okay, Jeff, I'll throw out a theory. For years, it's been rumored that she's been paying people in the Somali community $200 to vote for her. Did she just pay a lot more people?
It's not a rumor. She probably paid a lot more people.
No, and that's true. The Star Tribune reported this. That's not me. So,
right. No, Jim O'Keefe also exposed it. He did a whole, when he was still with Project Veritas, he did a whole
And I'm just
biggest
wondering if she
grant,
just got a whole bunch of money from the DNC and just end up paying a lot more people.
basically. Yeah.
I don't know. It's
I
like it
don't-
just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah.
that was-
It's so corrupt and it's disgusting. It's like,
Yeah. I want to go back to this DNC deal. So they've been parading up these poor little young girls that were brutalized by their, this one gal I saw was raped by a stepfather, right?
Yeah.
Had to have an abortion or whatever, some tragic story.
mhm.
Pardon me, but the thing that caught me was nowhere in her presentation or speech, whatever you want, her time on the stage, did she say, this guy is in jail. He's not doing it to anyone else. I mean,
Right.
they never put any closure to any of this. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the system is she would have went in and gotten an abortion, and then the system would have returned her back to this monster. I mean, she doesn't talk about going to child services or protection. She got placed in a different home. I mean, it's just the story is, and I'm not saying none of her story is true. It's just that's how shitty our system is.
Mm,
We'll abort this baby,
yeah.
but we won't protect you again
Yeah,
because
Right.
she doesn't talk about it.
right.
Right.
So I'm sitting there looking at, like, is someone going to come on after and say, I'm the prosecutor that locked this bastard up?
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
and,
then it's
and,
like,
and who creates a system that allows this to continue?
yes, yes. I mean, to me, that is the crime of what they're putting out there. And there has to be more people than just me thinking this way. Like, what's the Paul Harvey? Where's
Well,
the rest of this story?
I'm assuming you guys saw this, but I don't know if most of the viewers did, about the fact that it turns out that the DHS has lost track of 320,000 children who came
Yep.
across the border illegally. 320,000 of them. They don't know where they are.
Yep, disappeared into
Yeah.
the ether.
We're really
Or
confident, aren't we?
into some child trafficking ring.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yes.
you can't think the best thing. The vast
Yeah.
majority of these kids are probably doing really terribly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's 320,000 of them.
Right.
I mean, I can't get over it. It's like
And-
unbelievable.
And granted, this is over both administrations. However, it's increased by over 500 something percent. I mean, some huge percentage in the last 3.5 years.
Yeah,
In 2020, there were like 545 unaccounted for children that Trump lost track of. Kamala Harris sent out a tweet blasting it. This is outrageous.
Yeah, right.
And it's just like, okay, and now you have over 300,000 on your watch.
Yeah,
Because
right.
the borders are, after all.
Well, that's part of Trump's messaging issue in my eyes, watching what he's been doing. He doesn't have that, I'm going to get rid of the swamp. He was part of it, and now he's out. Now he's trying to get back in there. And I think he needs to message this as, I'm going to change my approach to draining the swamp. So I know people are worried about sorry, my computer just did a computer thing.
That's okay.
Okay, about people are complaining, I'm going to get rid of the Department of Education, the Department of Agriculture,
Yeah.
all these departments, right? Someone in his election group needs to pull up where all the, where's the best education being done? Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And he comes out next week and says, just to calm everyone that I'm not going to be getting rid of these departments. My goal, knowing what the swamp is I'm going to spread the swamp out across this great country. So the Department of Education is going to the state where the best education system is, and it's going to be in flyover country. And that's where this department's going to move. And we don't need 15,000 employees there. We need about 6,000. Cut the number in half and start to move this money out of Washington, D.C. If they have to have a meeting, they can Zoom in We all know we've all had to Zoom, but
Yeah.
get this entitlement of these department people out of Washington, D.C., where these bastards get to go to drink every night and talk about stupid continuation of this terrible system that they're working in, and move the Department of Agriculture to Colfax, Wisconsin, and the Department of whatever to Timbuktu, Nevada, up where, not near Reno or Vegas. Put it where someone is being effective with that, in that type of a department, and say that's where you're going, because you can talk to someone who knows what they're doing, and spin this thing. He can do this in 70 days, and people will go, that sounds good. I might want one of those jobs. It's coming to my town.
Yeah, and especially because the thing is, Jeff, if you actually did move to most of those places, to smaller cities, half the people in the department wouldn't even move with them. They're not
Correct.
going to move.
That
So-
would be the beauty of it.
Right, you wouldn't even have to really lay anybody off, probably. You know, so, yeah, you're not the only person who's proposed this. I don't have to tell you that.
But
You
that,
know?
right. This
You are the
isn't a
most
new
passive.
idea, but he needs to start to talk about this and get this. I'm going to drain the swamp, and I saw it one way. That didn't work. Here's how I'm going to do. Pardon me. Do it next. I'm going to
Yeah.
move these things, and if it doesn't work after 4 years, JD Vance will look at it, because he's going to be the successor, because we're going to get things done.
Yeah.
And take the narrative away of status quo.
Yeah, but I got to ask you guys, does it even matter to half the populace whether anything gets done? I mean, the fact that Kamala Harris has 50% of the public on her side, I mean, these people haven't done anything. If anything, they've destroyed half the country, and they're halfway into destroying our economy, and yet people don't seem to even care. I don't quite understand.
People don't understand government and how it works. I mean, just the craziness over, he wants to destroy the Department of Education, and people are weeping and gnashing teeth. And it's just like, the Department of Education was instituted by bureaucratic fiat and executive order by, what's his name, Carter, who claims he wants to stay alive long enough to vote for Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
I believe that. This is not something that is part of our constitutional system. It is not anything that the fathers intended. He intended the states to take care of their business and then send taxes to the federal government for the national defense and the things that the federal government should be taking care of.
yeah.
Instead, we have these bloated bureaucracies that we pay a hella ton of taxes for that do absolutely nothing, or that weaponize themselves against Americans, like the Department of Labor.
And I think that the media and the fake pollsters are saying she's got 50%. I don't. This economy is crushing. The Department of Labor just came out and said they had to revise 2023 new jobs by 818,000.
Unbelievable. It was
And
like,
so that's just more doubt at the dinner table where Kamala isn't sitting, and Timmy isn't sitting, where people are saying, I told you my job. They were laying a bunch of people off, and you said, no, that's not what the news said. Well, the news was told to report something wrong. Now they're going to try to cover that up. But this economy is being crushed. And I don't care what your income is. If your electric bill was, and you're in a McMansion, was $4,000 or $800 a month, and it's now close to $1,600, even if you've got the money, it's like, I just pissed $800 away. I'm not any warmer, cooler, more comfortable. My house isn't more beautiful. It's just money wasted on inflation.
Yeah.
For no value.
Getting back to that thing about the job statistics. So, as a general rule, the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the General Accounting Office have always been kind of considered above reproach. But in the last 42 months of the Biden administration, those numbers have been revised all but 2 times in Biden's favor. So And the fact that they would be off by almost 1 million people. I mean, it was 30% of the figure. I mean, and so Trump came out yesterday and he said, "Oh, they've politicized this. They're lying about the numbers." And there's more and more. It's hard at this point. You look at that statistic, 40 out of 42 months. It'd be difficult to not conclude they politicized this whole process. I mean,
Yeah.
so they basically shit on the last thing about government that was kind of like, unbiased, and that's the statistics. And now they fucked that too.
But that's where Trump needs to come out and say, so I think my administration is going to look at how these numbers are generated. And if we can't trust the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we're going to send it out to Price Waterhouse. We're going to save money because we won't have that department. And Price Waterhouse has an office in Peoria, Illinois, and that's where the numbers are going to come from. And this is how we're going to verify them. And start to pound this. We're going to move it out. We're going to put it to someone we trust because they're going to have a contract, and we're going to review the contract 6 months. And if their numbers fluctuate more than what used to be the average, 3%, they'll lose the contract and they'll have to refund the money. Just start to talk business to the American taxpayer. It's so simple.
You know this better than most people. So ADP also announces employment statistics every month, and they have 80% of the payroll market in the United States. I mean, they're almost a monopoly. And
for small businesses where most people, I just want to clarify. So ADP does 80% of the payroll for most small businesses.
Yes.
Which means the majority of the employed.
Yes, that's right. And
that's what we need to clarify. These guys aren't doing the payroll for 3M.
Right. Okay. Right. So the reason I brought that up is because those numbers have historically been considered at least as accurate, if not more accurate, than the BLS numbers. And they're, like you said, they're a private corporation. They're only doing it. They do it out of the goodness of their heart. They didn't have to do it.
Well, and it used to be a benchmark against what the government was going to say, right?
Uh-huh.
So the government had to keep it pretty close. And we talked about it years ago on a comm show that the ADP was off by 300,000 jobs, a number that is statistically like, what did ADP lose a server? I mean, how were they off that much? They're doing payroll at least every week or every other week. Because that's how small businesses pay their employees.
Right.
Mostly weekly. And so for them to be that off and for no media outlet to take that and run and get to the bottom of it, again, who's controlling that media narrative? CIA. Someone is. Because ADP can't lose face about their ability to say who's hiring and who's laying off.
All right.
Well, now you guys, we've talked about this many times about the Project Nightingale thing in the 1970s, where the CIA paid 600 of the most prominent journalists in the country either not to report stories or report them incorrectly. They got and that's not like some stupid conspiracy theory. That's been verified.
Yeah.
That's a historical fact now. And so if they were doing it 70 years ago, why wouldn't they be doing it now? Why would they stop? Too many people, too many freaking fingers in the pie. That's what I think. Oh, and so Jennifer, you wrote another story too about I'll just let you talk about this about Michelle Obama's speech, where you said she brought the sister bride.
Michelle my belle, as the late Rush Limbaugh used to say. Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me. As I said, first of all, the Obamas and why everybody falls all over them and thinks they're the second coming. Parties notwithstanding, I've just seen, and again, coming from Chicago, I saw right through them from day one. But they have bamboozled the world for over 15, 20 years now.
I call him the Frank Sinatra of American politics. He's a very, very smooth man. He
really is. Oh yeah, very much so. So that notwithstanding, But for her to sit up and first of all weave this story about, oh, Kamala's just one of us, and she shares our values, and the values my mother instilled in me are the same values that she instilled in Kamala, and it's just like, you probably don't even know this woman, and from the background that I do know, they don't even like each other. Yeah. so this manufactured nonsense, but what galled me quite particularly was a line that she was talking about her parents, giving a story about her late mother, God rest her soul. Obviously a wonderful woman, raised 2 great kids. And she said, my parents weren't wealthy people. In fact, they did, they thought it was suspicious people who took more than they needed. Yeah. And I could have fallen out my chair. I'm just like, right. Okay, you bought a 710 million or however, 7.1, 11 million, something or another, a house in Martha's Vineyard. You're building one in Hawaii, Chicago. It's just like, and you got 2 grown daughters. People, then that means your mother would obviously be suspicious of you and Barack, because you're definitely consuming more than you need. Yeah. It just, and they're painting Trump as, he's not one of us, and he's this billionaire, but he's a bankrupt billionaire. It's just like, but you have exactly the same income base that he does. Give me a break. And they're denigrating JD Vance. And it's like, that's what I mean by the gaslighting. It's just like, all you got to do is do some research and see that they're spouting nonsense that they don't even believe, because they are part of the elite class too. They don't go to Costco. They don't shop at Walmart. In fact, the home that Barack Obama is building, apparently it's built in the state constitution in Hawaii that the beaches belong to the people. And so he thought that when he built his home, he would be able to cordon off a private area of the beach for himself. And the state said, we don't care if you are an ex-president. No.
I'm glad they did. I didn't know that. Yeah. So Jeff thinks everybody should get paid exactly the same. So the
whole narrative is, as people walk away from it and start to revisit this, and Jennifer, I agree. Michelle's speech, why did she wander down that path about her mom and living, not trusting people with money? I was at lunch today. I was telling Jim this earlier today. I was at lunch with someone, and I said, so she flies in on a private jet,
wears a $300 pantsuit, which didn't look like it was worth $300, but that's neither here nor there.
And she's talking about this stuff, and I said, it doesn't look like you have a Obama sweatshirt on or an Obama eyeglasses. I mean, what have they done to generate this income? And they always talk about, we have one pie that we're all digging out of.
Oh, yeah, right.
Whose part of the pie did they take to get enough money to have $30 million in real estate and fly private jets?
Well, apparently she got 70 million or something like that to give a speech in Germany about equity and
inclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, these are, again, seeing right through these people, just common sense. You're going to get all this money to speak about inequity. Isn't that inequitable in and of itself, people?
Let me ask both of you guys, do you think that she's aware of the hypocrisy or not?
Oh, she's totally aware. That they are well aware of this grift, and they have been on board for decades. No, a little background on way back on Michelle Obama, because people looked less under the hood about her than they did about Barack, because she was the first lady and all that stuff. She was what they called, we'd call it a diversity hire now, but a patronage hire, because Chicago is all about patronage. She was a patronage hire. Valerie Jarrett was her boss. all she basically did was she sat there all day, read a book, did absolutely nothing, and got paid a salary. Because that and so that her and Valerie have been tied at the hip, and they've gone up together and climbed together. So she is someone who has always been on the grift, always, been put very much like Kamala, put into positions that, weren't substantive, didn't require much of her, and got well paid for it.
Was she put on the bottom position like Kamala?
No, Kamala did all that on her own. So
We're not supposed to go there, Jim. Come on.
I know we're not. I know. What's wrong with me? What was I thinking?
The other,
I did throw that in to the article.
Well, I mean, it's a part of the whatever they say in. It's part of the evidence, right?
Well, it's part of her record. I don't understand why people. I get that that they'll raise a hue and cry and accuse you of sexism and all this other stuff, but it's just like, if that was a man, they would bring it up.
Yeah,
it's fair game as far as I'm concerned. I'm with Megyn Kelly on this. It's fair game. Frankly, it should be.
And also,
and it's not like it wasn't well documented. The Los Angeles
That's right.
Times,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Chronicle,
Willie Brown is basically
they all talked
it,
about Willie Brown's new friend,
Yeah.
who he bought a BMW for, and who put she was put on a board where she had to show up twice a month and never showed up, and got paid at that time $70-something thousand, which with inflation would be like in the $100-something thousand. That's how she got her start.
And no girlfriend I ever had bought me a BMW. It's never happened.
Shame. For shame.
I can't understand why.
Oh my God.
I just want to. We had Carter Mondale, and you have Biden Harris. Now, Carter was struggling to try to get the malaise. I mean, he didn't say it was a malaise, but he was labeled the malaise president.
Right.
He was stuck in a rut. And again, in a leadership position, if you have a CEO and you have a COO or whatever, there's generally someone that's alongside you. You're at the top of the heap, and you got to give the final answer. But there's usually someone alongside you, which a vice president would be, to help you in these times. And again, Mondale was another grifter who never did anything but was an attorney, worked in a law firm here in the Twin Cities, got placed around, and all of a sudden he's on this fast track for politics. But it is amazing to me that you have a struggling president like Biden, and Kamala Harris never looked at it as, this is my opportunity to show my talents of leadership. Obviously, she doesn't have any, and that's why she didn't do it.
Right.
I'm not that naive. But I think she is going to be a Mondale candidate. I think she might only win California because her height or her pinnacle is going to end out tomorrow when her speech is done. Then it's just a regular campaign. You're not going to get all these people to show up because her numbers at a rally are already slipping. Not everyone wants to show up to see the music show beforehand. Now she's going to have to sit there and speak about policies.
This weekend, she only drew 250 people to a rally, and that wasn't. That's the left wing media reported that. That wasn't anything from, So I totally agree with you. The other thing about your analogy, Jeff, is that I think like Mondale, I think that Trump is going to totally destroy her in their first debate. Because I don't know if you guys remember this. The thing about the first Mondale, I'm thinking about Reagan Mondale, excuse me. But still, what happened is that Reagan told that joke, I'm not going to make fun of my opponent for his youth and inexperience, and everyone laughed. And Mondale said in his autobiography, he said he knew at that moment that he'd lost. And I think the same thing's going to happen. This woman can't think or string words together to save her life. I don't think she's going to do much better than Biden did. And Biden is almost dead.
They got to keep her off the sauce too. So.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Okay,
That's the other thing that's starting to migrate out, right? Is
Right,
this whole
right.
she likes to drink during the day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it does make a lot of sense. If you look at the stuff she says and stuff, well, yeah, that's an inebriated mind right there. I mean, I find it amazing. I was at a dinner party this last weekend, and like I said on my show on Monday, they're all, everyone, I'm in Minneapolis, everybody but me is a liberal, right? And everyone's there saying, people are saying, Trump says she's stupid. I don't see how she's stupid at all. I'm thinking, my God, have you listened to this woman? I mean, it's like she can't string more than 12 words together. I mean, she can't. I just don't believe it. But people aren't listening.
She always has to have that teleprompter there. They will not give her any leash.
Yeah.
Speak off, just to have a conversation. And you can only do that so long. Biden got to hide in the basement.
Very well practiced, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh man.
I have two things I just want to cover quick.
Please go ahead.
For Conk. And thanks again, Jim, for the commercials.
I screwed it up this time, but that's all right.
Conk.com or Conk.news. We've added Alpha News into the feed.
And that's good. Good for you.
Another website called antiwar.com. And these guys are super great at just explaining, we're spending money and we're killing people. When does it end? And so I'm really happy to have those two news sources aggregating in the normal role.
I'm glad you got Alpha News on there. That's a good thing.
Yeah. In fact, Megyn Kelly had Liz Collins on today. And just so people know why it's important to buy a book. If you want a book on history, don't get it online. Buy the damn book.
Right.
Liz Collins was talking about, Tampon Timmy wandered into this IVF. Him and his wife used IVF for. That wasn't true. They used some kind of
IUI, which is not less invasive and
some other type of.
These things are all foreign to me. I don't know what you're talking about. I know what IVF is.
In vitro fertilization is where you actually fertilize an egg outside of the womb, implanted, and you create several eggs. And the problem that Catholics and other pro-life people have with it is the fact that what happens with those embryos that have been fertilized. That those are that's what Alabama, everybody was losing their minds with Alabama about, is that the Supreme Court, according to the way our laws are written, said that, well, these people do have a right to sue this company because they created life and they destroyed these lives. So this fertilized egg is alive. And so that Waltz didn't do that. Waltz and his wife did not do that.
So it was another lie that he had told. In the Star Tribune, the big newspaper in Minneapolis, had run an article with a headline that's basically stated Tim Walz in IVF and keeping everyone's rights or whatever. Well, now that it's come out that they used something different, they used more of a, I don't know, Megyn Kelly called
it was, like I said, it's less invasive. It's more of a holistic approach to conceiving, as opposed to, like I said,
pregnant.
No petri dish.
The story is, within the last 24 hours, the Star Tribune has gone back and changed their headline to say Tim Walz practiced some kind of family planning or something. So
they scrub it all the time.
Yep. My point is, this news that you Google is being manipulated to fit the current narrative, which, historically speaking, is very dangerous to a free press. Again, these idiots don't understand it. They're the first ones killed when the communists like Kamala take over and Tim.
Queers for Palestine. Yay.
That's right. So anyway, that was Liz Collins is a very good reporter for Alpha News. She has broken a lot of stuff, and she was a regular reporter, news reporter in the Twin Cities before she got fired and had to join up with the Alpha News. So if you see her stories, she's a.
Is she still with Alpha News, or she's no
Yes.
longer with Alpha?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, Liz is still there.
Okay.
But again,
I've been pulling from Alpha News quite a bit because that's the thing. The local papers are going to tell you stuff, and then it's not going to be this corporate overhang. At least the local papers that haven't been bought out by corporate entities, which sadly is not that many. I mean,
Right.
this is how, to go back to Obama, so many people dug up all this stuff on Obama, and his past was that he was reported on all through the local press, through the Chicago press, and nobody paid attention. I mean, they had Oppo, they had all the records. He's another one who really never had to do a day's work in his life either. He's got savvy, he's got charisma. That's what slides him over. But has he ever worked? No.
Oh, by his own admission, he's a lazy guy. He
Yeah.
said that many times.
Yeah.
You know. I have a question for you guys though. You know, Jeff, you were talking about, you know, you can't believe what you Google, and so I mean, you the three of us know that. We know, we've been, you know, doing this long enough. What do you say to my friends, and I have several, who just don't, you know, I got a friend of mine who watches this show. He just doesn't believe the fact that he's being lied to by the mainstream press. He doesn't.
Yeah.
So, what do you say to these people? I mean, I don't know what to say to them. I don't know.
There's nothing you can say to them. I have a friend, she's a dear friend, and she's actually leans conservative. Her husband is staunch conservative, but because she worked in the news industry for a long time, she has a hard time believing that these people are deliberately lying and manipulating news. And
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to her. It's just like, it is just, that is the way it is.
It's only been really going on hardcore for about 10 years. So if you go back before then.
No, it's been going on a lot longer than that. And actually it's a brainchild of Cronkite. Cronkite was way involved.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. Right. And people don't know this. He was a hardcore communist, and he really was.
Yes.
You know?
yeah, and I always, you know, I start when people do political talk, I always say, well, where are you getting your news about the other side? And they look at you with a dumb struck look, and they say,
a glazed look. Yeah.
I just want you to know, just so when we're going to have this conversation, I wake up every morning and I watch Morning Joe. And they look at me like I'm an idiot. And I say, and I do that because I want to understand what the other side thinks of the way I think.
What is their perspective? I mean,
what do they think of the way I think? Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and if they say, well, I can't do that. I can't stand Sean Hannity or Fox News. I'm like, well, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of what they're saying or what you might have to think differently?
Yeah.
Because if you have to think differently, then why would it's always going to be the boogeyman in the closet, and you might miss the tooth fairy. And so that's what I challenge. And Jennifer, to your point about your friend that's a journalist, it's the same thing. We've had the discussion with Conaway, who's a election judge, and he's adamant that there's no way to cheat.
No such thing as
so,
voter
Jim,
fraud. Yeah.
You're going to talk to him before I do. I would just say, hey, Tim, I want to challenge you that when you work at the November election, get everyone, when they have the meeting in the morning to get everyone started, I challenge you to say to the head election judge, I want to see the count. Everyone here, we want to see that it starts at 0. I want to verify that nothing's in this machine or their tabulation, because in Minnesota they use basically an iPad that feeds this data.
Yeah.
I want. Tim, can you come back on November 6th and say, I saw that tablet and it was 0 before anything was done here. And then you get to look at the machine at the end of the day and it says 10,302. And however this machine is, it says 10,302. You can be an inside person for all of us. That's my question is, okay, Tim, You say there's no way to cheat. Let's go back to this lab test. Can you verify it was 0? And if you can tell me I'm full of shit that the vote gets goofy, and I'll live with that. But I can't. I'm not inside on that. You are. Be the journalist you are and verify that for everyone. That's my challenge.
Beside that point, though, the fact of the matter is 50 different states have 50 different methods. So even if you're going to grant to Tim that it was fair here in Minnesota, that doesn't mean it's done that fair anywhere else, you know?
Right. And it's fair in the boundaries he's able to see.
Yeah.
Right.
He has no idea what happens when it gets to the main collection area.
Right.
None of us do.
No. Well, supposedly the RNC is going to release 100,000 people to go to polling places and verify the count. That's a lot of people, man. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I hope that's true.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me go down
I
my
hate the
list here.
buzzkill with the whole election thing. But, you know, Jim, if I'm not negative on your show, people don't think I'm out, but think I'm sick. Hey, I did a Google search on stories of Trump helping people because I wanted to see, and it's really hard to find it on Google. I tried DuckDuckGo or whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's really hard. I mean,
they're all compromised, and they all use their same infrastructure. So
Yes,
to
they
me,
do.
there's
so I did it for, and the search I did was stories of Trump helping people, stories of Biden helping people, stories of Harris helping people. And I'm saying helping people that, you know, they took their own money, handed someone, solved someone's problem. 4 came up for Trump, 0 for Biden, 0 for Harris.
Yeah.
Now, that's Conk News Scientific. I didn't change the headline, and you can click straight through to the article. But again, that to me, that is the difference. They have yet to parade someone on the stage that said Kamala Harris. Now, they'll talk about legislation she did.
Yeah. Right.
But they won't talk about, I was losing my car. I couldn't get the motor fixed. And Dougie wrote a check to the garage and solved that problem. But people talked about Trump, employees that had breast cancer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That he would just write a check.
Oh, Maury Povich did a story on a kid that was mom was losing her house or something, and Trump wrote the check. Those stories are real of Donald. There aren't any on Biden. There weren't any on Harris. I know there aren't any on Obama. There weren't any on Bill Clinton. And I'm going to say there weren't any on George Bush. Because I'm still pissed off that I voted for that jackass twice. Warmonger.
Yeah.
But yeah, from what I could get off of Google, which is true, I know that. I don't want you to be sanctioned with this video. Everything on Google is true.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah.
4 Trump, 0 Biden, 0 Harris.
Yeah.
And I didn't look up Tampon Timmy because I already know that jackass because I'm in his state. That guy wouldn't help anyone.
Except
Okay,
himself.
I got one story I want to end with here, which is kind of off the beaten track, but still, I thought you guys might be interested in talking about this. And that is, so I don't know if you guys follow the Star Wars universe at all. So Disney canceled the Star Wars TV show, The Acolyte, after 1 season, and they blew $180 million, and they're canceling it because nobody's watching it. And the reason nobody's watching it is because they're fucking up everything. I mean, I know you read John Nolte on Breitbart.com. My favorite column is probably, he's really into the movie industry. I think that's because he used to write for it, I think. And the Disney is basically, I think, what is it, of all, in 2023, only one movie they put out actually made a profit. I mean, these people are just cratering. And the reason they're cratering is because of all this woke bullshit. I don't understand where these people get the idea they can push this stuff on the public and the public will just watch it. They just assume this. And I don't know if that's because they're young and because people have always watched it, so they assume people always will. But people are abandoning the movie business in droves, and that's because all the product sucks. It's just
Right.
those very and the proof of this is actually the few movies that do really well, like this Deadpool and Wolverine thing.
That's
I
cool.
haven't,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but apparently it's very funny. It's made like $1 billion.
Yeah, well, it's irreverent for one thing. It's killing a lot of it goes against a lot of sacred cows. Let's just put it that way.
Huh?
And does it in a way that is totally out of the box, unorthodox, offensive. When have we seen anything offensive?
Well, that's right. Jennifer, have you
Unless
seen
you're
it?
screwing Christians or somebody else, they don't care.
Jennifer, have you seen it?
Yeah. And I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was cleverly done.
That's pretty cool.
With some nice little, Easter eggs and homages to some of the other Marvel Universe characters. I mean, it was great seeing Blade and a few other things. That universe I follow. The Star Wars. Save for the first 3 movies, I haven't paid attention to what the folklore
The
is.
ultimate buzz killer on your story, Jim. Disney lost $180 million for its shareholders. No one at Disney took a pay cut.
Right.
And that's the difference between Disney losing money and Donald Trump having people not go to his hotels because they think whatever. Donald loses real money out of his pocket. Disney loses money for all of us that can't get our money out of our 401k because it's invested through a BlackRock, which invests in Disney. We're the ones who got hosed because of Disney pissing away money. The stockholders, shareholders, are the ones who get screwed in those deals, and we don't tie that together between the publicly traded companies and privately held companies. That money that Donald Trump loses, he's out of it because he made a bad decision.
Yeah.
We're out because some corporate jackass thought they'd be cute with DEI.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. When it's not your skin in the game, you have absolutely nothing to lose.
And doesn't that seem to be true of absolutely everything?
Of everything, yeah.
Everything. You go back and you look at all the stuff that's happening. You're talking about people who literally don't have skin in the game, and it's
Right.
it doesn't affect me.
And take it back to the presidential election. It's
Right.
like these people have never worked, sweat. They know nothing about what the American dream is about.
Yeah.
You don't grow up in Berkeley and in Montreal, which is a hotbed in Canada of communism, and know anything about the American dream. You don't.
Right.
You know what someone fed to you about it.
Let's end with this. I'm interested in your answer to this question. Do you think that people have become less able to relate to other people in the last 40, 50 years, or do you think it's always been this way?
No, I think it's less because too much of one of the problems is that because all this information is accessible, people think that they know something about someone that they have absolutely no idea, as opposed to having to sit on a bus with them or take a road trip with them, or there were just a number of ways where people took a chance to interact with the other.
Mm-hmm.
And now those don't exist anymore. You've got your coastal liberals who basically, and I saw this tremendously in Los Angeles and living in California, where someone lives in the enclave of Silver Lake and they have no clue what anybody in Pacoima or in Lancaster, they know nothing about them and don't want to know anything about them. They don't have to. They got their little radios, they got their little bubble, and the world exists from their lens. Walter Kern, great writer, I follow him on Twitter.
He's hilarious.
He writes for the Free Press and other things. He made the observation that he hears about these wine women, these wine liberals or wine moms, but he really, he smiles and nods, but he really has he's never met one. He has no idea what they're about. And I replied to him and says, they're awful. Really, they make you lose hope for humanity, because these are people that, in the San Fernando Valley, when I worked as a yoga instructor and did other things, these are the types of women I dealt with all the time. Literally, when Trump won in 2016, I had to teach a yoga class, and boy, was that fun.
Were there tears?
Oh, yes. Breaking down in my arms, tears.
Uh-huh.
That their daughters were going to be put into slavery, Handmaid's Tale and the whole 9 yards. And I'm sorry, I had to keep myself from laughing, and just be of comfort and all that stuff. And literally, there were teachers who were calling in saying, I don't think I can teach today. I'm just too upset. Kind of like Brendan Strzok actually talked about that, how when Hillary lost, that he canceled all his appointments and went into mourning and made the video. I mean, these are the types of women. These are these wine moms, and they're the ones that are going to carry Kamala over if she's going to be carried over.
Okay, I got another question now.
Just believe
so,
this.
Because since you brought this up, Jennifer, I don't want to look quite as sexist. Why do you think it's mostly women? Because you're not the only person who's noticed this. I mean, a lot of people notice the fact that most of the people at the protests, they're mostly women, and I don't quite what is that about? Jeff, I'll put you on the spot.
No, I'm not touching that. I don't have the right plumbing or claim to have it.
There are just so many theories that are wrapped up in that. When you don't have anything invested in children or husband, you're going to pour all of that, whatever, hormones, ire, I don't know. You're going to pour it into a cause.
Right.
We're always looking for causes.
No, that's a legitimate theory. That is.
Yeah. We're always looking for causes and people who have to pour it into their children or husband or even a business. You don't have time for the other nonsense, but like I said, those those wine moms who have nothing better to do but sit around and talk about their therapy and their massage and
talk about our feelings.
They are open to the Robin DiAngelo foolishness and the stuff that goes on. It's like they're awful, and they've got too much money and too much time on their hands.
Yeah. Whoever came up with the phrase "awful," affluent white female liberals,
perfect. Yeah,
I know it's really incredible. It is
so spot on. Yeah.
Yes,
Jeff, I'm going to give you the last word on anything. You don't have to comment.
Make sure we all watch Kamala. Tim's off the stage. I saw him wrap it up. I got to go back and listen to it in the morning. Because I want to know what
I don't think I can take it tonight. For sure.
You report back, Jeff. I can't take it. Hold up, just a second. We got a call here. Hold on a second. I'm going to take this. Let's see who this is. Hi, who's this?
Yeah, this is Brother Michael from Singapore. How are you?
Oh, it's Michael from Singapore. Hey, Michael, we're having a little hard time hearing you. Could you speak up?
Yes. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, thank you.
Regarding DNC, this is the third night, and pretty smooth. Everything is going pretty smooth. And, if you want a better country, and, Democrats, they include everybody in their, wings. But unfortunately, Donald Trump, he says only white people only. And that's the biggest problem we have today. And Donald Trump, and he's like a kid. He says, me. What do you mean, me? You have to say for the people. You have to be the servant of the people.
So Michael, I'm a little unclear on what side you're taking here. I don't really understand.
Yes. I'm taking the side of DNC.
Okay.
Because they are the party of the people, diversity, and everybody are included in their, under their wing. But unfortunately, Donald Trump is only certain people included, not the rest of the people, and that's bad for the country. What
So-
do you think?
So Michael, did you watch the RNC at all?
Yes, I did. Yes.
So you didn't see the contingent of Sikhs, which are a sect of Indian. You did not see them at the RNC.
There were few of other diversity people, but in DNC, fortunately, we saw from every country, pretty much a lot of people came for 3 nights, diversity into diversity into diversity, and that's you feel much comfortable until you just go someplace. It's just only certain kind of people there, only one race. I mean,
So my question is, why is seeing we aren't the world. We have, you know, politics is supposed to be a big tent on both sides, but Republicans, in terms of diversity of thought, that's more important than diversity of skin color. So which is more important? So diversity of skin color is more important to you than diversity of thought. Is that what you're saying?
It is important, but especially, you know, DNC, you know, they want to work for the whole people of the United States. They want to help and satisfy pretty much as they can, everybody. But unfortunately, Donald Trump is only for whoever votes for him. He says, "I love you," and we will see what will happen later on. But he always say me, and that's not right. I mean, he's like he just doesn't want really care for even to be elected, because he's going to say at the end, you guys stole, DNC stole the elections. Anyway, he's going to fight American people, regardless.
He didn't fight last time. He stepped down last time without incident. So I don't know where the idea that he's going to, you know, if he loses this time, he's going to fight. I don't. It doesn't hold up. Let's just put it that way. The evidence on the side of what Trump has done for the country, economically, I was doing way better. This black woman was doing way better economically under Trump than I am now under Biden. So I'm more on the side of, I don't care whether you've got 4 heads and your hair is purple. If your diversity of thought, if you have no diversity of thought, if you're going to take away my economic opportunities, which Democrats have, if you're going to tell me that life is not important and that I need to cut off my body parts, I have nothing to do with you. I don't want that type of thought process.
Michael,
be on the side that has the diversity of thought.
Michael, are you watching or listening to this tonight?
He's probably watching if he's talking about diversity of skin.
No, I'm guessing he's listening because you called and blogged on BTR. I just want to let you know that, I don't know if you know this, but Jeff Meyer is a proud black woman. So
yeah, just ask me. No, my question to Michael would be,
hold on, Michael. Jeff has a question for you. Go ahead, Jeff.
So you get this visual picture that the Democrat Party or the DNC is more diverse. I would put it to you again. I normally talk about business and stuff. Would you say that with the DNC's potential of controlling the money in most of these Democrat cities, that their citizens in these cities that are diverse are better off after, in Minnesota, 50 years of them running the local government? Are there less homeless people or more? The food shelves bigger or smaller with them in charge? To me, that's how you measure the success. Donald Trump hasn't been in the, he's only been in the government for 4 years. Most of it he had to fight a bunch of lies. So we don't really know what his potential was. But we do know what Tim Walz's potential is. He let the city of Minneapolis burn. The job I do, I was down there every day, the day it started and days after. And so I don't care what it looks like. I want to know what the results are, because the results are, if you're a minority in the United States, after billions and trillions of dollars being spent to solve these problems, the problems are actually bigger. They haven't resolved any problem. And so I guess from a visual standpoint, you can say Trump maybe isn't as diverse. But from a functional standpoint, the Democrats have not solved any issue with all the money and controlling the purse strings.
Ayatollah Khomeini came to Iran by air flight. Oh my gosh, only 10% of people. So, Khomeini came. Let's go. And then they put him into power. You see what he has done? 46 years of hell for Iranians, and Iranians are basically, servant of the Ayatollahs now.
And Michael, that sounds like the Democrat Party in our nation.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of the Democrat Party and what they've done to cities and what they've done to minority communities in our nation.
For that reason, I hope Donald Trump become a president and he become like Khomeini for Iran, like Khomeini, and he will be the king forever.
No, he won't.
Yeah, our system doesn't work that way.
Our system doesn't work that way.
He could have done it once already, and he didn't.
Exactly. He didn't do it before. We have a constitutional republic. That's what we follow.
Michael, I'm going to let you go because I got to let the panel go, okay? All right? I appreciate you calling. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Michael's an interesting guy. He's a regular caller.
Okay.
He lives in Singapore, but he's an Iranian and he's a journalist for some Iranian publication. So he
needs to read more.
Yeah,
send them Punk News.
I mean,
seriously, it's like
you have to measure success by accomplishment, and you can't say what the Democrat Party has done for any of the groups that they've said they're here to help. Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of I'm not saying they're the only ones responsible. The Republicans haven't done it either, but they haven't been enough control to sort out the problems. And so just statistically, no problem solved. You shouldn't be allowed to be in power anymore. That's just a fact. Yeah. No business survives by being shitty. It just goes out of business. The Democrat needs to go out of business.
Yeah. I mean, but I was trying to hammer home. Sadly, he was hard to understand and he was quiet. But again, you've got that whole diversity of thought versus diversity of skin color or image. Yeah. Dems are good on image. They love the window dressing. They love the bright, shiny objects. But as you said, what's the result of all that? The result of all that is minorities have gotten nothing. We've gotten rampant homelessness. We've gotten rampant crime, illegals. It's like their agenda has nothing to do with actually bringing a big tent and bringing in diversity of thought and great ideas. It's just we're going to show that we're going to pretend we're the party of diversity while we screw you over.
And this is a larger point and doesn't really this goes beyond politics, but we have a problem, I think, in our society where that people don't even recognize results anymore in anything.
No, you're right. You're
like,
right.
It's terrible.
The whole participation trophy era.
Yeah, that's right.
That actual achievement just goes past their heads.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of see it. You know, we look at the Olympics and we're all thrilled and excited about it. And it's just like, do you know how much hard work goes into making that achievement? And
Right.
nobody talks about that aspect.
No.
This is an analogy of life. It's not just that athlete there. It's that person with the small business who worked and slaved and scraped to get where they are. And then the government is just like, okay, we're going to write this regulation and
Yeah.
bye-bye, it's gone.
I used to work in classical music, and every once in a while there's a story online where some musician's $100,000 violin gets stolen, and then people say, well, why do you have a $100,000 violin? And then people don't realize how, you know, even to get into a regular symphony orchestra, you basically have to practice like for 8 hours a day for like 5-7 years.
It's your job.
It's your job. And most people, and not to mention the fact most violinists don't actually own those instruments. They lease them. So, because they can't afford them. So, I don't know, just one of those examples about the fact that people can't relate to how much work that takes. You know?
Yeah.
There's only a small percentage of the public that seems to be able to do it.
Yes.
You know? And thankfully, I'm surrounded by two of them right now. Two highly accomplished people. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Jeff,
great to be here as always.
Jennifer, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Jennifer, good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you guys. Yeah, we'll see you soon. Take care, all right?
All right.
That's Jeff Meyer from Conk.com and Jennifer Oliver O'Connell from, well, both from asthegirlturns.com, which is her Substack feed, and redstate.com. Red State, fabulous publication. Hot Air, fabulous publication. We have a thing with Salem Media. It's a love fest. I don't know what the deal is. There's never been anything really. We have no formal association with these people, but it's just kind of something that just happened. So I'm going to let you guys go tonight, except for one thing. I want to bring up one thing. You know, this is part 3 where we talk about the UFO stuff. So I can't remember. Did I mention this on Monday? I don't remember if I did or not. So Luis Elizondo, the guy who worked for the ATIP UFO program for the government, has put a book out. It came out yesterday, and I've been plowing through it. I'm about 2/3 of the way through. I've invited Jazz Shaw to come on the show next week because if I'm right, Jazz knows Lou Elizondo, and he's the UFO guy for Salem Media, and we talk about this stuff all the time. But at any rate, this book, I have to tell you, I think it's devastating because he basically comes out and says the government knows that the UFOs are from either another planet or non-human, one or the other. He says they know this, and it's common knowledge in the halls of top secret government. It's a fascinating book. I don't see. Jazz says that the Department of Defense vetted this book. If you work or formally work for the Department of Defense, you have to submit anything you publish to them to have them go through it to redact stuff in case you have inadvertently talked about secrets. And Jazz said, and other people have said too, that apparently it took the Department of Defense a whole year to vet this book, to go through it over and over again. And there's still, in my copy, I have a Kindle copy. In my copy, there's still a few things that are actually blacked out. So I don't know if that's at the last minute or what the deal is. But the thing is, it's hard to believe that he got some of the stuff by the Defense Department censors. I mean, he comes straight out and says that yes, the UFOs are from off planet. He doesn't. David Grush, who actually he mentions at least briefly than what I've read so far, he talks about the fact, Grush always says non-human because he says that they're not necessarily from another planet, quote unquote, but Luis Elizondo says, well, they may not be from another planet, but they're not from here. He comes straight out and says that they're from another world. So I don't know. I've been kind of searching to see if there's been news on this, but so far there's been none I've seen. I don't know if that's because the DNC is on right now, or just getting back to what we were talking about with Jennifer and Jeff about the fact that is the DOD paying reporters not to write about this? I don't really know. I don't know. We'll probably find out in the next few days. Anyway, I'm hoping Jazz comes on next week because I want to talk about that. And with that, folks, I'm going to leave you to your evening. I want to thank Jennifer Oliver O'Connell and Jeff Meyer for joining us. Tomorrow night, we got our convention panel, Tim Conaway, Larry Newman, Don Zoro. They're going to be joining us tomorrow. And also, I'll be doing solo on Monday as usual. So we'll have a wrap up for all this stuff too. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie. And good night to you, wherever you are. I'll see you tomorrow night. Take care.